Hello ladies and gents, welcome to another video from Mr. Michael's channel for extraordinary young people. This is the second video of our summary task, which is called coconuts. If you haven't watched the first one, I suggest you go and do that now. Okay, let's get started. Now, here are your learning objectives as per usual. First of all, we're going to review some vocabulary. Why? Because that's what we always do. It's good to build your vocabulary, isn't it? And then number 2 says we're going to assess your work from the last video. Really, that should say you're going to assess your work from the last video. Okay, number 3, we're going to find the key points in the second half of the coconut text that we started in the last lesson. Number 4, we're going to look at some paraphrasing strategies. And finally, we're going to produce a short paragraph using those paraphrasing strategies, just like you would have to do in the O-level English language exam. Okay, let's get started. Here is your starter activity. Can you please write down those 3 words and try to recall or remember the meaning of those words from your mind? If you can't do that, you may look them up in the dictionary, but try to remember them first. Pause the video now, please. The first word is premature. Premature, and that means occurring before the expected time, something which occurs earlier than is expected. The second word is stunning, and stunning means extremely impressive, beautiful, incredible, amazing, knocks your socks off because of its beauty, because of its impressiveness. And the third word is coincidence. Now, the word coincidence means circumstances that occur at the same time without any causal connection. Circumstances that occur at the same time without any causal connection. So imagine you are speaking about your friend and then all of a sudden on the phone, who's calling you? It's only your friend. What a coincidence. This is the answer key from the piece of work that you completed at the end of the last video. So what I would like you to do is go to the work that you produced in the last session and mark it correct or mark it incorrect, depending upon whether your answers match those on the screen. Go and do that now, please. And once you've done that, then we need to move on to the second half of the text now, okay? Because remember, I told you in the first video, we only looked at the first 3 paragraphs of the text. And now in this session, we're going to look at the second 3 paragraphs of the text. As you can see at the bottom there, all of this is copyrighted and everything belongs to Cambridge International Examinations. What I would like you to do is please pause the video and have a read through that text. Remember that the words in green are those which were included in the vocabulary journal, which you can find in the first video. Do that now, please. Have you read through it? Once you have done, then we need to move on to this task here. It's your turn once again. So now you need to identify the key points in the second half of the text. The first one is given to you. As you can see, in some countries, a new kind of bacteria is wiping out coconut trees. You need to write down another 7 key points that you can find in the text. Off you go. Please do that now. Have you done that? If you have, spoiler alert, the next slide is the answer key for the task that you have just completed. Here it is. So please take your red pen once again and assess your piece of work against these answers. Let's do that now, please. If you got them wrong, please make sure you make corrections on your piece of work so that you remember next time where your mistakes were. And my students, once you've completed the task and you've self-assessed it, you will be required to upload that via Teams. Now let's move on to the next part of the summary task. Once we've identified all of the key points, the next thing that we have to do is we have to write a short summary paragraph of the original text. And one of the things that we have to do when we are writing that summary is we have to paraphrase. Okay, what does the word paraphrase mean? It means to write things in your own words, to rewrite a sentence using your own words. And now what I want to do in this video is I want to present 2 strategies that I recommend you use in order to paraphrase effectively. The first strategy is using synonyms. Okay, what does synonyms mean? The word synonym means a word which has a similar meaning to another. So for example, a synonym of the word brilliant is marvelous or fantastic or wonderful. They're synonymous. They have a similar or the same meaning. Now, so what I want you to do is I want you to write that sentence down in your book, and then I want you to think about other words, synonyms, which have a similar meaning to the words in color. So have a go at paraphrasing the sentence using synonyms to replace the words that I've identified. Have a go now. I'm coming back in a minute. Did you have a go? Okay, let's have a look at what I've put here. My version is, it has long been customary in nations that grow coconuts to make food from coconuts. Now the first one in blue, a long tradition, I've said instead it's long been customary. It's a custom. A custom and a tradition are very closely connected. And instead of saying countries, I said nations. We can see how they're synonymous, right? The third one, instead of saying coconut producing, I said nations that grow coconuts. Now that's not necessarily a direct synonym, but it has the same meaning, and that can be a form of paraphrasing. And in the bottom one, it says to make food from coconuts. And you're saying, hold on, Mr. Michael, make and make are not synonyms. That's just the same word twice. And I did that on purpose. Because you know what? You don't have to find a synonym for every single word in the sentence. If you do that in a very scientific manner, I'm going to change every single word in this sentence. You know what will happen? You'll end up with a quite unnatural sentence and it won't flow as well as it could. So therefore, this is a piece of advice. You don't need to change every single word in a sentence. Okay? So the first strategy that we're going to use is synonyms. Okay, let's move on to our second strategy, which is called restructuring the sentence. That means reorganizing or reordering the structure of the sentence. Now, I've taken this sentence from the original text. I'd like you to have a read of that, please. And once you've read it, I want you to think, is there any way for you to restructure this sentence, to reorganize the sentence, to move a certain part of the sentence to a different position in order to paraphrase it? Write this down, please, in your book, and then write down the new paraphrase. Are you able to reorganize or restructure the sentence so as to paraphrase it? If you can, have a go, write it down. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, have you done that? Let's have a look at the answer that I came up with. Do you see how we moved the purple section of the sentence ahead of the green rather than the other way round? Let's read the new version. Coconuts are used in the beauty industry, as coconut oil can be added to shower gels and shampoos, while coconut shells can be ground down and added to skincare products. Okay, so all that I did there is restructure, reorganize the sentence and change a few of the words, and then I have my own brand new paraphrase of that sentence. So the second strategy is called restructuring the sentence. But what would happen if we took this original sentence here and we did both of the strategies at the same time? We didn't only restructure the sentence, meaning that we moved the order of the words around, but instead we also added in synonyms. Can you do that? Can you try to restructure the sentence and add some synonyms in order to get a very strong paraphrased sentence? Pause the video and have a go now, please. Excellent. Okay, did you have a go? Let's have a look at my version and see how yours compares to that. Coconuts are used for cosmetic goods, as many shampoos and shower gels contain coconut oil, and skincare products often contain crushed coconut shells. So there's a few words that we've changed around here, haven't we? Instead of saying the beauty industry, we've said cosmetic goods. And instead of saying ground down, we've said crushed, because these words are synonyms, or at the very least, they're very similar. So there you are. There are two strategies that we want to use. The first one is synonyms, and the second one is restructuring the sentence. Remember, two more pieces of advice. One, you do not need to change the meaning of every single word. That will result in an unnatural sentence. And number two, make sure the paraphrase has the same meaning as the original sentence. Changing the meaning of the sentence means that it's not an effective paraphrase. Okay, so it's your turn. Now, what I want you to do is you're going to produce a short summary paragraph. That's your task. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down the sentence at the top, which is written in italics. That's your starter sentence. And then after that, you are going to work through the next 3 sentences and you're going to paraphrase them. You're going to write them in your own words. You're going to use synonyms, you're going to restructure the sentence, and you're going to produce paraphrased sentences for each of those 3 original sentences on the screen. However, there is also one other aspect to writing a summary paragraph. You have to connect your ideas together. You have to link your ideas together using linkers. And I have given you a list of linkers on the right-hand side of the screen. So what I want you to do is, once you've paraphrased the first sentence, I want you to select a linker in order to introduce the next point. And then once you've paraphrased the second point, I want you to use a linker to introduce the final point. However, just to make it a bit more tricky, some of those linkers are not appropriate. Some of them can't be used in this paragraph. So you will have to be careful in selecting the appropriate linker. Okay, off you go. Do your best, please. Let's go on to our final activity, which is our 1, 2, 3 plenary. I would like you to tell me 3 linkers that you can use when writing a summary. Can you tell me 2 strategies for paraphrasing? And can you tell me 1 synonym for the word vulnerable? And that will be the end of the video. Thank you for your time. I look forward to teaching you again. Take it easy. Goodbye.